Well, good morning again. If you don't know me, my name is Reverend Elisha Christopher. I'm the spiritual director here at the center. I use they and them pronouns, and my ancestors immigrated to this country from Ireland, Scotland, Austria, and Holland, and they're actually from all over the world, and some from this country originally. But let us begin with a few breaths. Exhale first, let it all out, and take a deep breath in. And let it go. Yeah, do that again. Breathe in. Let it go. One more deep breath. Breathe in. And let go. So over the course of this year in our Centers for Spiritual Living, our theme is a grand rising. Right? We're in this year, we have this theme of inviting us to really be part of that which is rising up in the world, that which is evolving, that which is new, that which is coming forward. And this month, the theme we're exploring is giant gentleness. And a few weeks ago for my birthday, Jason and I were in Ashland, and we got to have dinner with my teacher and friend, Dr. Jean Houston, and her teaching partner, Peggy Rubin. And both of these women are approaching their 90s. They are powerful, global spiritual teachers who have been teaching and doing magnificent work in the world for decades. And at dinner, I got to ask both of them, I said, so you all have been teaching for longer than I've been alive. What would you say is the core of your philosophy? And so Peggy Rubin said her philosophy is embody joy. The whole of her teaching, right there. Jean Houston said that the sum of her teaching is, you are part of the great wholeness. Yeah. So the next night, Jason and I were at dinner, and I said, well, you're the closest person to me. You've been listening to me talk for over 10 years now. What do you think the core of my message is? And Jason thought for a second, and he said, you are God. Act like it. Yeah, which I think is it. That's the message. You are God, act like it. Right? And the thing that I love about that as an invitation for all of us, right, we have this philosophy here that says God is all that there is. There is one great oneness, there is one consciousness, there is one being. It is looking through my eyes, it is looking through your eyes. It is that presence that is living and breathing in everyone and everything. Right? So not only you are God, but so is everybody else. And that's where the spiritual practice comes in. Right? Because it's one thing for me to claim it and know it for myself and be gentle with myself in all the ways that I need to be gentle with myself. The real spiritual practice often comes in when we get to interact with each other. Right? There's all of these gods running around in the world trying to act like it, remember their truth, and be who they're here to be. And then in the process, we all come bumping up into each other. Right? And so there's this invitation with this idea of giant gentleness. To be in the practice of looking for that presence, that divinity in each and every person we interact with. Right? You've heard me say this 1,000 times. What would the world look like? How would you act if in every interaction, if in every conversation, with every person you meet, you were looking for the presence of the divine? You were looking for God. Right, Molly, thank you for that poem this morning about those moments when we get that reaction, those words, that something that hurts from someone else, and it immediately might cause us some pain, but then to remember perhaps there's something going on the other side. What does that giant gentleness look like when we're holding each other in the stuff, in the pain, in the tension, right? That in order for us to be in the practice of looking for God, it means that we have to hold each other as such. So take a deep breath and let go. And just think for a moment about the ways that first you might need to be gentle with yourself. What is that voice inside of your head that might need to be quieted sometimes? Right? Because first, there's no way we're going to give that grace and love to each other unless we first practice it with ourselves. Right? What does your self-love practice look like? How forgiving are you with you? I heard in a meeting earlier this week, my friend Rev Bev, who you're going to meet shortly, she said something that has stuck in my mind all week long. And she said, "What if you were more than the worst thing you've ever done?" I know, right? But what if you were more than that reaction? What if you were more than that harsh word you spoke? What if you were more than that self-criticism? What if you were more than whatever it is that you think is wrong with you? Because the truth is you are. You are more than that. Each one of us is more than that. And so we need to take that lens with us into the world and remember that every time we or someone else misspeaks or trips over us or we hurt each other's feelings, what if I or the other was more than that? Right? And we live in this very silly world at the moment that wants to punish everyone and everything for every misspoken word or fumble that we make. We live in this time of cancel culture, right? Which is unforgiving, yes. Right? And the thing about this giant gentleness is that we actually have to learn how to forgive. We have to learn how to be graceful. We have to learn how to be gentle, not only with ourselves, but truly with each other. And to remember that if we believe, I believe, if you believe, that love is the greatest force in the universe, then love is the thing that can overcome all obstacle. Love is the thing that can create any healing that we need. Love is the thing that will allow us to forgive anything that needs to be forgiven. Right? Because anytime we push against anything, what do we get more of? The thing we're pushing against, right? And so we try to extinguish hate with hate and war with war and crime with punishment and all of these things, and yet all we get is more of the problem. And when we want to extinguish something from existence, we have to create something larger in order to do that. The problem is, when we want to attack hate with hate or war with war, we have to create more hate and more war, a bigger hate, a bigger war, a bigger evil in order to combat the evil that we are trying to extinguish. Right? In order to end World War II and stop Hitler and the Nazis, we created the atom bomb. We extinguished an evil, but we created an even bigger one. Right? Look what's happened in Israel and Gaza. Think about it. Every time we try to push against, we create more of that which we are pushing against. So let us be the place of giant gentleness. Let us be the place of love. Let each one of our hearts and minds be the place where we bring that great, magnificent love into the world that can overcome anything. Right? Think of the great, gentle power of water. Right? Water can run across the surface of the land, gently streaming and flowing, and in its great power, it can carve out the Grand Canyon. Right? What if each one of us walked through the world as water, as love, as giant gentleness, so that everything that comes our way, we have the capacity, the ability to flow around it, to move with it, to lift it up, to be the place where something new is being created. Yeah? So take another deep breath on that. What would it look like for you today to embrace this giant gentleness, to embrace the love that you truly are, to move through the world like water? What if in this community, what if in your relationships, what if in your family, that love was able to flow through you so that you could move in and through all of the interactions and relationships that each one of us has with that sense of grace and ease? And when you become the place of gracefulness, you become the healer in the lives of people around you. Because when we show up with the love, when we show up with the grace, when we show up with the gentleness, we set the example. But also that lifts people up. When people feel seen, when people feel loved, when people feel acknowledged for more than their mistakes, when we choose to see their divinity, we become the mirror that can reflect that truth back to them. Right? So take another breath. I want to remind you of our Centers for Spiritual Living global vision. And I'll remind you that Centers for Spiritual Living has this statement that we have written. We've been holding it for over a decade now. And it is our vision of the world that we want to see, the world that we want to live in. And imagine how giant gentleness might be the pathway to get us there. So listen to this. Maybe close your eyes, take a deep breath in. Our global vision for Centers for Spiritual Living. We envision all people, all beings, and all life as expressions of God. We see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God and connection with each other. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. We envision humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought. A world where each and every person discovers their own creative power and ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone. We envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. A world where this kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. We envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every area of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures to further the emerging global consciousness. We envision a world where each and every person has enough food, a home, and a sense of belonging, a world where peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. We envision a world in which our resources are valued, cared for, and grown, and where there is a generous and continuous sharing of these resources. We envision a worldwide culture in which forgiveness is the norm. We envision a world which has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, and creativity and love through the resurgence of art and aesthetics. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. And so I read you that today because I want to remind you that one of our practices here at the center is that we are a tithing community. And that 10% of everything that you give us, we give back to the community and to the world to seed this global vision. And we look to local organizations in our community who are doing this work. And I wanted to take a portion of my talk time today to introduce you to my friend, Reverend Beverly Brooke, or Rev Bev, who has a ministry here called Prophets of Hope. Is that correct? Prophets of Hope. And it is a prison ministry, and they are, in my view, Rev Bev and the Prophets of Hope are a powerful example of what giant gentleness looks like in action. So I'm going to invite Rev Bev up, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what they do. There you go. Thank you.
So in my home, whenever we criticize someone or make a judgment, we have to say, comma, just like me. So when you come home and say, oh, you should have seen that guy, you ran the red light, and I almost hit, just like me. So the last time I was here, I was dressed up as Weird Barbie. Weird Christian Barbie. So you can imagine today I thought, ooh, should I dress up again? I was here for the Jewish festival Purim. And Rabbi Eli, we call him Eli the elder, Eli the younger. And Rabbi Paula always have a theme for Purim, and you can talk to me about that later, but they came as Ken and Barbie and asked me to come as something as a Christian, and so I came as Weird Barbie. I have pictures, just in case. Can we be in the spirit of prayer or meditation, whatever you're comfortable with? Take a deep breath. Grandmother God, we thank you for being with us this day. We know that you walk this journey of life with us, and yet so often we forget to turn to you. This day, wrap your quilt of comfort and love around our shoulders as we talk about your children and their families who are incarcerated. In your many names we pray. Amen. My pronouns are she, her, and my ancestors came from Iowa and Fresno. I'm sure European something, Scotland something is there. So Reverend Eli told me I had 2 to 3 minutes until this morning. Then he said I had 7 to 10. That throws me off, because it's like, okay, down and dirty, get it out there, and we're good to go. But now it's like, whew, story time. So a few years ago, in our county, there was a young man who was accused of taking a young girl's life. At the time, we had our jail ministry team, but there was going to be a hearing called a transfer hearing. Should this 15-year-old be charged as an adult? And so they have a hearing where all the details about this young man, his family, his crime, anything that they can find, they bring it to the court, and it's a transfer hearing. So the jail ministry team, which we call Prophets of Hope, I asked them to come to the transfer hearing and sit and listen. Didn't have to come every day. It was about 6 weeks, but not every day, but most days of the week. You could sit on either side. You could sit behind the young man who was accused, or you could sit on the side of the victim's family. It didn't matter. It was like this woman here. Sorry, I don't know your name, who's praying for us. We were just going to be witnesses. We met almost every week together to talk about what we were listening to, what we were hearing. It was devastating on all levels. The end result was that he was going to be charged as an adult, although the laws have since changed, and he's back in the juvenile system. But at that time, he was in county jail. So I went to see him after the decision was made that he was going to be charged as an adult. I had met this young man the day he was arrested. So I'd known him for a while. So when I went to see him, he said, "So now what?" What do you mean, so now what? Well, now you know everything about me. Will you still come to see me? And if so, why? Now, the first answer was easy, but the why? Why was I? And that was the question that stayed with me, that I brought back to our jail ministry team. Why do we do what we do? faithfully, showing up, which is actually the most important thing, is we show up. So 20-some years ago, one of the staff at Juvenile Hall asked that some churches come together and meet with the youth as a spiritual group. So there was a number of churches at that time that were involved. I was with the Methodist Church at that time, and we started going up we went every Sunday, but different churches would take different Sundays. And then I moved over to Peace United Church of Christ, and they had a small jail ministry team, and I brought my connections with Juvenile Hall to Peace, and we became the Prophets of Hope jail ministry team. And so just what we do is we go into the men's jail, the women's jail. We see women and men in the main jail. We go to Juvenile Hall, and we provide what some call a spiritual service, some call a faith service, because we are interfaith in our Prophets of Hope. So we have a Buddhist priest that comes in, we have former Catholics that come in, and we all bring our whole self. We call our Prophets of Hope a ministry of presence. We're there. We listen, we sing, we share stories. We walk their walk with them. We also support the family. So one of our volunteers, who volunteers up at Juvenile Hall but not in the main jail, started visiting a couple people when the young man got transferred to county jail. And she would visit maybe once or twice a month some of our people. And she came to me and she said, you know, they treat families terribly. And I go, what are you talking about? She said, well, when I'm in the lobby, you have to be there an hour ahead of time. And then there's little kids, grandmas, grandpas visiting their loved ones. And it's just chaotic and nobody cares and there's nothing to do, but you have to be there an hour ahead of time. And I said, well, what's your vision? And she said, well, I want to start a jail lobby ministry. I said, that's great. I'll let you do it. I'll help you. What do you want to do? And so she said, I want to bring in good coffee. I want to bring in juice boxes. I want to bring in activities for the kids. And so she started the jail lobby ministry as part of Prophets of Hope. So we go in. Unfortunately, she is moving to Idaho. Unfortunately, on all different levels, but she's moving to Idaho. And so she was doing it twice a month. We're at once a month now on Saturdays, but it's continuing. And so my husband and I, she was out of town during the holidays, so we did it. I had never done it before because she was just so in charge of it. But it was just heartwarming because like this one lady, I'll never forget, she came in, she signed in, she got a cup of coffee, she grabbed a muffin, she goes, I'll be back. She left. She had no makeup on when she signed in. Then an hour later, she comes back all decked out, beautiful makeup, and she goes, I'm seeing my honey now. And it was just like the coolest thing. Got her coffee, and I went to see her loved one. And so we support families in any way we can. We just put together with NAMI, Kathy, who's here, who's a volunteer, and Corey, I know she attends here, is a volunteer. We put together a jail court community resource guide that I got into the lobby, and it's also on NAMI's website, just because families are totally lost when a loved one gets arrested. They don't know what to do, where to go. And then, let's see, about a year ago now, I got a call from Monarch Services. I don't know if you're familiar with Monarch, but they do a lot of domestic violence advocacy work. And they said, you know, we have women coming out of jail that have nothing. They're indigent. And she said they get arrested in these clothes. They're in jail for 2 or 3 months, and then they come out, and those are the clothes that they get in a black plastic bag. Here's your clothes. Could you put together some bags for them? So I reached out to a couple of churches and synagogues and got some donations, and so we put together these bags. These bags were donated by Temple Bethel. They had a conference in violence in 2020 and had a lot of bags left over. So we put these bags together, and we have hygiene products, sweats, everything's new for them. And the only thing we can't put in is shoes, which we've been asked to by the women because they don't give any shoes when they're released, but except for the little plastic slipper-looking things. Yeah. So that's another one of our projects. We go, thank you. We also do advocacy. We have appeared many times in front of the Board of Supervisors for different things. We probably will be doing that because the sheriff wants to build a 500-bed new jail, and we think that they could take that $200 million and spend it on housing, substance abuse, and mental health. And if they did that, they wouldn't need a 500-bed facility, right? Yeah. So I'm just going down. We also have, at Christmas time, we've done this for 10 years, I believe. We purchase tamales for the youth at juvenile hall. So Christmas Eve or that weekend, we go up, and Kathy always has horchata and tamales and cookies, and we deck out the dining room and have a tamale dinner for our youth. Unfortunately, and we're working on this, most of our youth come from Watsonville, and so we always try to make it feel a little more like home for them. And one time, I think Kathy will remember, we eat with them, and we were sitting with them, and some kid looks down and he said, "Wow, this is just like a family." You know, it's like, yeah. So we know that not everybody can go in to the jail, maybe not comfortable with it or whatever reason, so we also have a prayer team. And so I post their prayer requests, people from jail or juvenile hall, what they're asking for, and then we have a prayer team that prays for them for that week or month, whatever. Lauren, right? Lauren, there you are. Lauren said, this is a small, Santa Cruz County is small, right? And I was thinking your comment that yesterday I was at the TED Talks. Anybody go to the Santa Cruz TED Talks yesterday? Say what? The TED Talks?
In Santa Cruz, yeah.
Yeah, it was at Cabrillo. It's like TED Talks, NPR TED Talks. Well, they have one in Santa Cruz, and one of my friends was speaking, and I just want to kind of promote the program. He spent 27 years incarcerated in the California State prison system. He got out in 2018, started going to Cabrillo College. He had one family member that said he could come and live with them. It was his older brother who lived in Watsonville. He'd never been here. Started Cabrillo, graduated from Cabrillo, graduated in 2022 from UCSC. And now he's the program director of a new program called Rising Scholars at Cabrillo. And it is for incarcerated and previously incarcerated students and family members. Because we do know that it's not just the person incarcerated that is impacted. It's all the family. And so they give them Chromebooks and help them through the enrollment process and just keep them going. So I have brochures. I can see my time is up. I have brochures. I also have a sign-up sheet if you'd like to receive our newsletter, or if you might be interested in joining us in our jail ministry team. Thank you so much for having me.
So that's Rev Bev, everybody, with Prophets of Hope. And this is our fourth quarter tithe from last year. It's just over $1,000. I'm pretty sure this will buy lots of backpacks and tamales and cupcakes and all the things. So thank you so much. Love you.